There we go. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Ordinary Council meeting of Wyndham City Council this Tuesday, the 2nd of April 2019. In the spirit of reconciliation, before we begin this meeting, I acknowledge the peoples of the Kulin Nation as the traditional owners of the land on which Wyndham is being built, and we pay our respects to their elders past and present. Please stand for the opening prayer and welcome. We pray for guidance in the Council's decision-making to achieve the best outcome for the people of Wyndham. Please be seated. I would like to welcome members of the gallery, press, councillors and staff here tonight for the Ordinary Council meeting. Some of you may have seen the notices in the foyer, but for those who didn't, I would like to make you aware of the following. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the internet. The recording will be archived and made available on Council's website. Whilst all care has been taken to ensure that your privacy is maintained, please be aware that your presence may be recorded. And tonight is the federal budget, and that is being handed down, and kindergarten funding could be cut. And we've been running a campaign this last little while called the I Love Kinder campaign. So councillors tonight are wearing their I Love Kinder t-shirts to show support for Wyndham's many young families and to secure funding for our children's early education. If you would like to support the campaign, please sign the online petition at ilovekinder.org.au, like it on Facebook and share the campaign with your family and friends. Well done, councillors, tonight for putting on your t-shirts. I think we look great, by the way. Item 2, apologies and requests for leave. Madam CEO, do we have any apologies and requests for leave this evening?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We do have one apology this evening from Councillor Tony Hooper, who was unable to make it due to a prior commitment.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Councillors, do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Peter Maynard, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Aaron Arndt, thank you. Councillors, I now put this motion to a vote. All those in favour? Against? The motion is carried. Item 3, declaration by councillors of disclosure of conflict of interest, conflicting personal interest in any item of the agenda. Councillors, does anyone have any conflicts of interest that they wish to declare in relation to tonight's agenda? Councillor Khan?
Madam Mayor, I do have a conflict of interest on item number 6.4.2 due to I own the property in the vicinity of that Wyndham North DCP. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Khan. Confirmation of minutes of previous meetings, so that the minutes of the Ordinary Council meeting held on Tuesday 5 March 2019 as prepared and circulated be confirmed. Councillors, do I have a mover for this motion? Councillor Khan. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Gibbons. Thank you, councillors. I now put this motion to a vote. All those in favour? Against? The motion is carried. Item 5, deputations and presentations. Madam CEO, I believe we have an informal presentation this evening.
We do, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much for the opportunity. It's with some sadness, but great pride that I do announce, Madam Mayor, that tonight is the last council meeting for Jenny McMahon, who has been our Director of City Life here at Wyndham City Council for 4 years. She's been an integral member of the executive team and certainly contributed a lot to Wyndham's growth and service delivery over the 4 years that she's been with us here at Council. I think it's important, Madam Mayor, to note for those councillors in attendance and also for the members of the gallery that not only is Jenny McMahon finishing up her time with Wyndham City Council, but she's actually retiring from local government. Jenny is one of those people who has really worked in the sector for a very long time and made a really significant contribution to local government in that time, having been in the sector for over 34 years. So I think you'd all agree that's a significant achievement and really a fantastic service to the sector. And we wish Jenny all the well for her future. And Jenny actually started her career back in North Fitzroy in Children's Services and has worked in a number of other councils. And we're really privileged to have Jenny finishing her time in local government with us here at Wyndham City Council. So we wish you all the very best, best, Jenny, for your future. Jenny is shifting gears and sort of looking at establishing a new career, but one that will enable her to have that sort of balance with sort of work and, you know, family life and other pursuits. So we wish her all the very best and thank her incredibly much for her contribution to Wyndham City Council. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. Well said. And Jenny, really on behalf of all the councillors, I would like to thank you, and I know we would all like to thank you for your support and advice you've given us in this term of council, coming on to really nearly 3 years. And your advice and your support has been always very well regarded and sometimes very needed at times too. But I know you'll probably miss coming to our council meetings, but you know, we do live stream these things. You may be able to tune in and watch and see what we're up to. And also we look forward to working with David Simmons, who has been appointed and acting in your role while we seek a replacement. So Jenny, thank you. Just a small token of our appreciation for you. And we wish you all the very best, Jenny. Thank you. Item 6, Officers' Reports. Item 6.1, Petitions. Item 6.1.1, Petition 19/05, Installation of a barbecue and sufficient lighting at Breton Drive Park in Hoppers Crossing. Councillors, do I have a mover for this item? Councillor McElhiney, do I have a seconder? Councillor Khan. Thank you, councillors. I now put this motion to a vote. All those in favour? Against? The motion is carried. Thank you. Item 6.2, Strategic Reports. Item 6.2.1, Quarter 3 Financial Management Report. The report is on pages 9 to 11. The recommendation is on page 9. The attachments are on pages 11 to 32. Councillors, do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Khan, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Councillor Khan, as a mover of this motion, would you like to speak to it?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's quite straightforward. Council's looking positive in surplus, even though this is quarter third. So it's self-explanatory, and we look forward to see the final report in quarter fourth. It's just the quarter third. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Khan. Councillors, are there any other speakers on this item? Councillor Maynard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of points. I think it's just important to highlight in the report that the full year budget reflects an operating deficit of $5.2 million, primarily driven by an early receipt of grants in 18-19, 8.7 in the 17-18 financial year. And if these grants were considered in the current financial year, we would show a budgeting surplus of 3.5. Also, there's been an increase in interest revenue with some active management of Council's investment profile. And I think it's also important to note that there is a favourable variance of $1.1 million from interest expenditure budgeted in the 18 financial year for a loan of $15 million, which Council no longer intends to take for the current financial year. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Maynard. Are there any other speakers on this item, councillors? Councillor Marcus.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this is a very well documented budget. I think it's very easy to read if you all care to go through it. I think it's very well laid out. I think we're in a very good stead for what they're predicting, that we are in for a very tough time in the future. It's coming through with the real estate Commission has already said, with the drop in the housing prices and all of that type of thing. Retail is just about shot. And so I think the way we've laid this out, the way we are very careful with the way we spend our money is excellent. There was just one thing, and I've had a few conversations with my director, Mr. Peter McKinnon, was the on page 21 was the, in the year-to-date expenditure was the 1.7 million in tree planting project. What I'm a little bit concerned about this, if we're going into a drought, that, but Mr McKinnon assures me that this includes the watering and the maintenance. So if you're reading that, it just says tree planting projects. It will include the actual maintenance to keep these trees alive, and also to make sure that our existing trees, as you would notice, many of the trees in this city are very, very stressed at this moment. And I certainly am always in favour of having trees planted, but it just really, when I read that, it concerned me that I want to keep alive the beautiful trees we already have in this city. But so I'm really pleased to be able to report that this includes the maintenance of all trees that will be planted in the months May to June. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marcus. Are there any other councillors who wish to speak to this item? Thank you, councillors. I now put this motion to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. 6.3 Policy and Advocacy. 6.3.1 The Wyndham Partnership Framework. The report is on pages 33 to 35. The recommendation is on page 33 and the attachments are on pages 36 to 47. Councillors, do I have a mover for this motion? Councillor Maynard. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Arndt, thank you. Councillor Maynard, as a mover of this motion, would you like to speak to it?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor.
Madam Mayor, this council is and continues to be a leader in the local government sector, and more councillors are looking in Wyndham's direction to see how we do business. We have and continue to think and look outside the square in creating and generating new and exciting partnerships with the private sector that will continue to improve the city to allow us to provide the best environment within the city for our residents and our visitors. Given our growth and the kind of money needed to provide infrastructure, which we all know and have been advocating for some time should be provided before the growth occurs, we cannot continue to only look to the state and federal governments to provide more and more funds from the public purse. We need to engage with investors, businesses and specific employers to create much needed improvements to our city. And we had produced a recent gem to highlight that in the Soccer A-League licence, which will provide many millions of much needed dollars of value capture that will allow us to continue to improve our city now and in the years to come. The Wyndham Partnership Framework will ensure that when we are looking for engagement and development with potential partners or potential partners are looking to engage with Wyndham, this document provides strategic intent and guiding principles to allow officers and councillors to clearly know how this city wishes to proceed with such an engagement. This framework, Madam Mayor, clearly shows to potential investors and businesses that Wyndham is open for business. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Maynard. Councillors, do I have any other speakers for this item? Councillor Arndt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm pleased to speak in support of the recommendation to adopt the Wyndham Partnership Framework. As stated in the report, partnerships are integral to Wyndham's long-term prosperity and success. This council, together with our local community, has set a long-term vision through Wyndham 2040 for the future of the city, and we have set in place clear strategies to help us achieve this vision. But we know that local government working along regardless of our community's strengths and ambitions will not achieve this vision without the support of our partners. There are numerous examples of our current partnership efforts and how these are strengthening and adding value to our city. Some case studies are listed in the framework, like the new A-League soccer license and the stadium, greening the pipeline, and our partnership with leisure networks to activate sports pavilions during the day, just to name a few. The Wyndham Partnership Framework has been developed to build on our work to date by providing criteria for establishing new partnerships and describing features effective partnerships. It also confirms that partnerships we seek will be strategic, innovative, and collaborative. The framework guide our partnership work and help Council to ensure we invest in the right partnerships to advance our strategic objectives. For those who are interested in partner with Council, this framework sends a clear and strong message that we will actively pursue partnerships where there are mutual aligned priorities and goals. This is an important strategic framework to advance our strategic approach, and I want to thank everyone who worked on this framework, and I commit this recommendation to the Chamber. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillors, any other speakers? Councillor McElhinney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, plain and simple, we're open for business. We're open for business opportunities, and it's exciting times ahead. And I say bring it on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McElhinney. Councillor Marcus.
Thank you. I think Councillor Ahn outlined it beautifully, and he took away two of my paragraphs that I was going to think. But what I would like to say, over the years, we really have advocated that there are 3 levels of government. As we are tonight, we're advocating, and hopefully we'll get some good news in the federal budget tonight, but we have always worked extremely hard with state and federal governments to come down here, because sometimes we're the fastest growing city in Victoria and Australia, but we need partnerships. And it's fantastic to note that on page 34, we want partnerships with all of our community people. We want you all to come and tell us what you think you would like to see us doing in our work here at Council. So I think that's very important. And also, we are working really hard. If I can just mention Natalie, she's out there advocating to everybody she possibly can find to make sure that we're getting our fair share of the money so that we can have the facilities that we need and we deserve here in our city. So I think also it's very important that Council do work with industry, and we work with the commercial people, because they are the ones that will bring the wealth to this city. Without them, if I'm really concerned about retail, because everyone's buying online and the retailers are closing one by one, and I just really think that if these can do, Big W now are going to be closing 1 in 3 stores, and I think if this is going to continue, we have to look at other ways of how we're going to make sure that we have shops in this city. So well done to Jenny again. Thank you for this report. Very good. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Marcus. Are there any further speakers on this item? Thank you, councillors. I now put this motion to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. Item 6.3.2, Draft Maternal and Child Health Service Statement. The report is on pages 48 to 53. The recommendation is on page 48, and the attachments are on pages 54 to 60. Councillors, do I have a mover for this motion? Councillor Gilligan, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Barlow, thank you. Councillor Gilligan, as a mover of this motion, you're going to speak to it?
I am indeed. Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Last week, a front page splash on The Age told us what we've known for quite some time. We're growing rapidly, and the demand for resources and services is key to our future. The Victorian Government credits their budget growth and spending to strong population growth that our city is forced to deal with each and every day. I'll put on the record that our council has proudly been sector leading when it comes to MCH, which is maternal and child health, and early childhood services, winning statewide awards and for program delivery and driving policy change. We know that children who start behind in life often stay behind. And that's why our statement highlights the vital investment for Wyndham's future in our children's early years. Indeed, we've done preliminary analysis on the funding of the MCH services, and we have found that ratepayers are forking out well above the 50-50 parity agreement with the Victorian Government. We forecast that in the 2019-2020 budget, $938,000 of ratepayers' money will need to be chipped in addition to the 50-50 parity agreement. And this figure goes to over $2 million a year, above and beyond what we should be contributing by 2029. That represents a projected $15.62 million more than the 50-50 parity funding agreement that we have with the states. And that cost shifting equates to 62% of total funding for services rather than the 50-50 funding agreement that we expect. Remarkably, this service is also not subject, it is subject to rate capping. And I note that the Australian Nurses Union has called on the Essential Services Commission to exclude this service from rate capping considerations, and our council should back them in that push. This cost shifting example means that future council budgets will now see less money for roads, parks and key community services as ratepayers fund the gap left by the state to deliver this service. It's fair to say councils, including Wyndham, are paying more because we know the importance of this service to our community, and our council term has been proudly defined by the strong investment that we have made. However, it is only fair that government honour their agreement and commit to the parity funding agreement that they signed up to. And indeed, as the MAV rep and the board member, I intend to focus heavily on this as part of the push for that parity funding agreement when the agreement is renegotiated in 2020. It's fair to say, though, that we're starting to see a trend here. Less taxpayer funds for public schools in favour of an increasing reliance on private investment for private schools. We're seeing state and federal governments cost shift on programs like school crossing supervisor programs, and obviously here tonight the 4-year kinder, and of course the MCH funding that I've spoken about tonight. I therefore urge the community to consider this statement and provide feedback during the exhibition period so we can continue to innovate this valuable service and deliver what really matters to families and children. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gilligan. Councillors, do I have any other speakers for this item? Councillor Barlow.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I must admit, and I think Councillor Gilligan mentioned it, that this council has won a number of awards over the years. And even on the time when I came first onto council back in 1997, we've done a great job looking after the maternal child health services. And there was a time where I believe the Wyndham Council, or the Werribee City Council at the time, looked at divesting itself from kindergartens, and the community spoke as one, and the council did not go ahead with that back in the 1990s. So we've got a proud record of looking after the babies right through to kindergarten, and I continue to support this. So I'm interested in this draft also. We are one of the highest areas for people of different cultural diversity coming into our municipality. And I just want to make mention on page 49, as part of our draft workings on this particular service statement, I wanted to make sure that we understood quite clearly the problems that a lot of parents have of different cultural backgrounds who firstly are not only aware of the services that we provide, but also that we can help them in other areas as well if they do bring their babies to maternal child health services. And on page 49, on the 3rd, 4th and 5th paragraphs, it states quite clearly that Wyndham has probably the highest rate of overseas arrivals across the Victorian growth areas, and we are very much aware that we have to go above and beyond the normal course of looking after or having nurses in just maternal child health, in that we have to take the extra step, because a lot of the people that are coming into our community aren't aware that those types of services are available. And it's important because these are the children who in some cases have come from different countries, and they do suffer from various different traumas, and the fact that there is in some communities a lack of there is a fear about dealing with bureaucracies and governments, because in their home countries they are the ones that have caused them the problems and why they've left. So I think that some of the work that we're doing in this particular area of cold communities is very good, and I too look forward to getting some feedback from various communities that I've spoken to in the last couple of weeks to make sure that we find out as a council just what are the issues that stop them from using some of our services. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Councillors, are there any other speakers on this item? Thank you, councillors. I now put this motion to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. Item 6.4, Strategic and Town Planning. Item 6.4.1. Councillor Khan, did you declare a conflict on this item? 6.4. Sorry, thank you. That's okay. So 6.4.1, Wyndham West Development Contributions Plan Project Implementation Program. The report's on pages 61 to 71. The recommendation is on page 62. Attachments are nil. Councillors, do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Maynard. Do I have a seconder for this motion? Councillor Khan, thank you. Councillor Maynard, as a mover of this motion, would you like to speak to it?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, there are a number of items that can be spoken to at this point, but I wish to highlight one that this council and a number of councils have been working with developers and the state government for a number of years to see come to fruition, and that is the completion of the Armstrong Road, Ison Road connection to the Princess Freeway, which will need the additional funding of the bridge over the Geelong railway line, crucial to this infrastructure bill, as an estimated cost of somewhere between $30 and $40 million. And that's to be contributed by the state government. However, Madam Mayor, we are asking that the bridge be 4 lanes and not 2 now and 2 later, which we've seen happen on a number of occasions. There are many other pressing roads in our municipality and specifically in the west of Wyndham, and this is one that we have under our control. Working with developers, and one that we do not have to wait for Vic Roads action on. As it states in the report, the Armstrong-Ison Road forms the north-south spine from which Wyndham West is being developed, and this is crucial in Wyndham Road development. There are some mention in the report, Part A, about the construction of Ison Road between the Princess Highway and Melbourne-Geelong rail line, which is Wyndham's responsibility. Part C, the construction of Ison Road from the Melbourne-Geelong rail line to Armstrong Road, and the construction of Armstrong Road from Ison Road to Black Forest Road. And this is to be undertaken as works inclined by Lend-Lease. Equally important is phase 2 of the infrastructure bill, and that is in Part F, the construction of Hobbs Road between Balan Road and the Werribee River, shown in purple on the plan. And then further to Davis Sayers Road to connect the northwest part of Wyndham and allow access to and from Wyndham for the many residents of Manor Lakes, Wyndham Vale, Hoppers Crossing, Tarneit and Truganina, and everyone else that wants to get either to Geelong or to the city as an alternative route. Over the last number of weeks, we've had some discussion about our budget discussions, and they have been very fruitful. And I do hope that if the budget is passed, that there'll be some very good news that we can announce in that budget. But I'd also like to highlight the cost of these key phases in 1 and 2 and the priority projects, which is currently at $78.62 million as at the December quarter 2018. Remembering that this does not include the 4-lane bridge, which is yet to be funded. And we will be using this information to highlight the municipality's needs in this area as projects as a central platform in the Wyndham West Developer Contribution Plan Project Implementation Program, or DCP PIP as we call it, in our advocacy and position that the state government should meet its obligation of provision of the overpass at the earliest practicable time. I also wish to highlight the following, Madam Mayor, that in Plan 2 on page 68 of this report, it incorrectly refers to the section of road north of Balan Road as Armstrong Road. This road should be Hobbs Road. And I further note there is reference to this error in the officer's report. However, the reason why we must show the map as it is currently is the map is a direct translation from the then Metropolitan Planning Authority's gazetted development contributions plan dating back to 2014.
One more minute, councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This plan has been embedded in our planning scheme via a state government scheme amendment, and therefore we are unable to physically alter the map. I am hopeful that any future review of the developer contribution plan for Wyndham West regions will correct this anomaly. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Maynard. Councillors, do I have any other speakers on this item? Thank you, councillors. I now put this motion to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. So item 6.4.2, thank you, councillor Khan. So Wyndham North Development Contributions Plan Project Implementation Program. The report can be found on pages 72 to 78. The recommendation is on page 73, attachments nil. Councillors, do I have a mover for this motion? Councillor Barlow, do I have a seconder? Thank you, councillor Maynard. Councillor Barlow is the mover of the motion. Would you like to speak to it?
Madam Mayor, I'm not going to bore people with history, but when I first moved to Hoppers Crossing, a lot of the roads, a lot of the roads that people are complaining about were dirt tracks. Leaks Road was a dirt track. It was still a dirt track when I came onto council in 1997. So no, there wasn't 2 inches of bitumen on the whole of Leaks Road. I think if you go down Leaks Road today, you will find that it's being turned into, it'll be turned into a magnificent 4-lane road thanks to the money that was allocated under the WRU by the state government a couple of years ago, and with also developer contributions, etc., etc. So look, I'm more than happy with the this report because there is so much work going on, and I do take on board, because if there's one thing that I get bailed up at the shopping centre over, or the supermarket, or if I go to one of my clubs that I'm a member at, they actually, people do bail me up. I don't even get a chance to swipe my member's card as I walk in before somebody bails me up to talk to me about certain roads, whether they be Tarneet Road, Hogan's Road. There's too much traffic maintenance being done on Leaks Road or Palmer's Road or whatever. However, these are necessary. There's no point, and I will make a statement to the community, there's no point complaining about infrastructure works, because at the end of the day, it will help provide roads and other services that will be of value to all of us. And I know it's hard, and as I say, I knew Doherty's Road, Leaks Road, Morris Road was a dirt road.
Heath's Road was a dirt road.
Heath's Road, yes, Heath's Road was a dirt road as well, as Councillor Gibbons will remember, because he was probably one of the first people to live on Heath's Road, if my memory goes back that far. So you know, and so I can attest that the developer contributions, which developers didn't have to put a lot of money in the old days, I must admit, but developer contributions, the plans for these roads, that have the patience, and you will see a very good outcome, I'm sure.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow, for not giving us that history lesson. But yes, you are correct. There is good work going on in here. Councillors, do I have another speaker on this? Thank you, Councillor Gilligan.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Just one point that I just want to make, particularly in the context of the discussion around subdivisional activity and the impact on DCPs, and I think that has to be an important consideration when we adopt this plan, particularly in the context of having money to continue with the progressed rollout of these roads. I also continue to maintain the importance of delivering the roads on time and on budget. And I understand the important issues that will arise when we've got so many roads under construction in this city. and the inevitable reality that there will be mistakes that will happen along the way. And we've got to do what we can to mitigate them, particularly, obviously, as of late, Tarney Road's a good example, but we certainly need to consider that, as well as, in my view, where the capital doesn't exist, that we redistribute any capital gain from the sale of the A-League site to deliver those projects on time and consistent. Because at the end of the day, it is a key, absolutely key, that we have roads that are delivered and able to maintain the increased pressure arising from this significant and important project that delivers significant economic benefits to our city, as well as, of course, the Western Roads package, which Councillor Barlow has outlined, a great example, in at least of the Victorian government providing significant funds there to deal with that problem. But I do have some concerns around just the sheer size of development going on and being able to deliver these on time and on budget. So we're pretty good at it, but it will be fascinating over the next couple of years as we see so much of this roll out in such a short period of time. And then on top of that, getting sufficient labour at a cost-effective rate and all of the consequences that come with so much infrastructure development.
One more minute, Councillor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gilligan. Are there any other speakers on this item? Thank you, councillors. I now put this motion to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. Item 6.4.3, Amendment C239 and C242 corrections. So the report are on pages 79 to 81. The recommendation is on page 79. Attachments are nil. Councillors, do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Barlow, do I have a seconder? Councillor Maynard, thank you. Councillor Barlow, would you like to speak to this motion?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Are there any other speakers on this item? Thank you, councillors. I now put this motion to a vote. All those in favour? Against? The motion is carried. So item 6.5, other reports. Item 6.5.1, Bensonhurst Parade Reserve Master Plan. The report is on pages 82 to 88. The recommendation is on page 82. The attachments are on pages 89 to 104. Councillors, do I have a mover for this item? Thank you, Councillor Arndt. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor McElhiney. Councillor Arndt, would you like to speak to this motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm pleased to support the adoption of the Bensonhurst Parade Reserve Master Plan. The plan to develop this active open space will go a long way to meeting the diverse needs of the Pungku community. The multi-purpose design of the reserve will appeal to the whole community, especially the green, which will cater for active and passive recreation, not just organized sport. From the feedback received, 90% of the community have shown a level of support for the draft plan. I support the adoption of the plan and look forward to the development of the reserve commencing over the next few years. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Arndt. Yes. Councillors, do I have any other speakers? Councillor Maynard.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, I just thought I'd throw my 10 cents in, being a sports portfolio holder. Certainly the 10 hectare site bounded by Princess Freeway to the north and west and Sneeves Road to the south and Hackett's Road to the east is certainly well needed. This facility will be capable of hosting both junior and senior level competition and training for local sporting associations, clubs and schools. In addition, it will cater for a number of sports and have the ability to co-locate multiple user groups. If I may, Madam Mayor, just to highlight some of the things that are going to be provided or suggested to be provided in the draft master plan is 4 rectangular soccer fields for soccer, and also a 70 metre radius cricket field, which can be used as a green for active recreation and passive recreation. 4 tennis courts with lighting, provision of space for future additional tennis courts, 4 of, a tennis shelter, a shared pavilion, which is important, of course, for cricket, soccer, tennis, flying disc users. I'm assuming that's frisbees and things like that, if they still call them that, and 4 cricket nets. But I think it's important just to highlight the fact that the anticipated contributions of developer contributions and recreation lands and grants and things totals expected a total of just on $9 million. Our quantity surveyors report estimates that the total
One more
cost,
minute, councillor.
Madam Mayor, will be in the vicinity of $15.7 million. It just goes to highlight, Madam Mayor, the difference between what is provided by developers and others and what council actually has to take out of its own purse on behalf of residents. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Maynard. Councillors, do I have any other speakers? Councillor McAloney, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to thank the community members that provided the feedback on this draft master plan. Your feedback is important and we appreciate the feedback as we want to build facilities that are really fit for purpose now and in the future. Councillor Maynard has already highlighted some of the things with the shared pavilion for cricket, soccer, the tennis courts. I'd make note that we have a water storage facility connecting to existing recycled water pipe on the southern boundary, which is fantastic. Point Cook thrives on open spaces. The number of participants to existing local spaces are in really high demand. Only last week I spoke with a dedicated volunteer at the one of the Point Cook facilities who states he was juggling over 1,000 players at his ground and over 38 teams. Now that is staggering and shows the needs for sports facilities in Point Cook. I hope eventually, once this ground is completed, it will relieve some of the pressure on these local groups who are currently experiencing the growth there. They can't get enough. The demand from the phone calls is astronomical. They can't keep up with the demand. So I see this is going to be well utilised. The plan incorporates a range of spaces and facilities to support the community to be more active and healthy, which has been identified through our Wyndham Sports strategy. We need to be able to provide as much open space as possible for our new communities, particularly our young communities. So I'm fully supportive of adopting this plan and it's much needed in the Point Cook community. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Any other speakers on this item? Well, thank you, councillors. I now put this motion to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? Motion is carried. Item 6.5.2, the draft Laurie Emmons Reserve Master Plan. The report is on pages 105 to 110. The recommendation is on page 105. The attachments are on pages 111 to 123. Councillors, do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Khan. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Barlow, thank you. Councillor Khan, would you like to speak to this item?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, can I say this is going to be one of the great projects by Wyndham City Council is going to do it. Is about 76 hectares of land, which is consists about 186 acres in total. And this site is a great site. It's on Sayers Road and Old Geelong Road. Now, there's a lot of population growth in Williams Landing and also that in Trogonana, which is Palmer's Road, close to the Palmer's Road. Now, this is a unique project which council will commit to spend 64.9 million, that excluding GST. That's a big number. Now, can I also say that this is one of the best regional park. It's very close to the city, very close to access, but we definitely need a request from the government to make sure that Sayers Road will become a duplication. It has to be double. Otherwise, we're spending a good money. We want our users to use this park. And what a great park, what a great strategy, what a draft we've done now. Wetland will be started in 2021. What is a wetland? Wetland will be funded by Melbourne Water. They will pay us 13.5 million in grant. So then the wetland kicks off in first phase. So the good thing about this entire project is people don't need to worry about how we're going to get $64.9 million. It's phased out in a year, and as we go, that progress will be updated to the council. So if the stage A, which is wetland by Melbourne voters, is going to support us, and B is the green and archery and cycling sports. If you look at the page, which is clearly shows that how it's going to look like, I'd like to take your attention saying on the main page, which is tells everything. This page tells everything. Picture speaks more than 1,000 words. Can I say the wetland, the boardwalks, the playground, the spectacular garden, the cycling sports and motocross, community art, youth present, everything, you can imagine it. This is the place where people can go and everybody can participate. I also like to say that now sometimes the reserve could be boring because I may not like to have a sports, I'm aging it, I have some disabilities, whatever as you can say, but it actually caters for everybody's needs. So you can go and enjoy watching the youth playing the playground, and I hope so when they get up, my wife have a 24-hour or a Wi-Fi or something like that, because this is a future project where people can go and everybody can enjoy. There will be lots of things will come in more in detail when this completely go in more in engineering in detail. Can I also say that now I personally drove my car to the area and I see passionate people with the bikes, the dirt bikes. And that everybody's saying, when's going to be motocross ready? I said that your passion is important. And you bringing bikes here, understand you're not supposed to do it. I saw the few people now because it's still not safe to drive, but people are so passionate about it. And this is going to be game changer for the West. It will become iconic because it will have everything. And I haven't seen in my life, being in Wyndham, that kind of reserve who caters to everything. I love to go take my family and friends to enjoy that, which is upcoming in years, and it's phased out. As you can see, the 10 to 15 years. But can I also say that now it's only just not the councils. We need investors. We need a public, the people who can come, the government agencies, the state, the federal, the non-profit associations who will support this project. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we can make that a dream project for Wyndham peoples, those who want to enjoy. And can I say it's a great project. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Khan. Councillors, are there any other speakers on this item? Councillor Maynard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to actually use part of the press release that was prepared for me because I think it quite eloquently covers the important parts of this reserve. And certainly, as Councillor Khan has alluded to, the Lower Emmons Reserve may well become the Western Melbourne destination for two-wheeled sports under this ambitious vision that this council has. And I might add that in December 2017, when this council passed its sports strategy for the next 27 years and what it expects and projects that it's going to be implementing and spending, that totaled some $975 million over the next 27 years. About 50% of that will be required to come from council. So if approved tonight, this council will be inviting residents to have their say on the Lower Emmons Reserve draft master plan, which aims to create a regional standard park for the whole family to enjoy. You know, a major cycling sports precinct with a revamped motocross track. And Councillor Khan mentioned that. I will allude to that a little further on. Off-road cycling track, BMX track, velodrome, a pump track. At first I thought that was where you get tyres done, but that's actually some sort of thing that the smaller kids ride on, I believe. And something that we have not seen for a very, very long time, and I think the last time we saw one was behind the exhibition buildings in the city, was a traffic school, where I can remember back in the dim dark ages as a little tacker practicing my stop signs and all those sorts of things, so the schools can again go to those. A number of sports and recreation ovals.
One more minute, please, Councillor.
Pavilion. I think also it's important to mention in the $65 million project, Madam Mayor, that Council has already budgeted $1.6 million for the motocross track development, which has been a bit of a passion of mine and has hit a few snags, but will occur. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Maynard. Councillors, do I have any other speakers on this item? Councillor Barlow.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Very briefly, I'm not sure whether this is the second or third Laurie Emmons Reserve Master Plan that I've been across in the last 20 years.
Oh, no.
You know, but it always helps to go back and review old plans and what people want, old history. And of course, you know, we've got to make sure, because we're asking an awful lot of money here, that the actual land doesn't belong to us. It's Crown land that we manage. And so I think there's an obligation probably on the state government as the owners of the land, and I stand to be corrected if I'm saying something wrong, that whatever gets decided to be done there is probably, if you look at all the things that we believe as councillors that have come out of our draft talks and whatever, that some of this stuff's going to take 20 years to do, you know, if maybe even more. Councillor Maynard, and I have to give him credit, has been across this now for a number of years, and for this master plan to actually get up is probably due to a lot of the hard work that Councillor Maynard and the previous council commenced as well, if I remember correctly. So I'm really looking forward to it, because I can remember back in 20 odd years ago going down there and watching people with archery and the motorbikes going around and whatever. So it's always been used, because we've even got a lot of Wyndham people used to play softball there as well, and cricket's played there at the moment. So there are a lot of things being done, but it needs a proper plan. And when you have a plan the size of this, it's got to be prioritised. What's the single most important thing that needs to be done first? And then we prioritise it, find the money and do it step at a time. Otherwise, this will go the way of the other plans that I've been across, where very little ever gets done. All we do is maintain what's already there. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Councillors, I did have Aaron, so Councillor Khan and Councillor Marcus. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just keep my speech short. So I do encourage our community to provide feedbacks on the vision of this regionally significant part of land. The draft master plan sets a long-term vision for Laurie Emmons Reserve and is focused on creating opportunities for increased community use and deferring antisocial behavior. The draft master plan proposed a state-of-art reserve with unparalleled connections to main roads, public transport, and the trail networks, including the Federation Trail. I'm looking forward to receiving community feedbacks on this vision for the reserve. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Marcus.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I'll come from a different perspective, and that is the social implications. And I think it's wonderful, as I've been around a long time too, Henry, and I'm quite sure if I go back into my archives, which I've got, I did bring some here to get rid of today, I think I would find these other draft master plans. But Henry, it's going to go ahead now, it really will go ahead. But it will be fantastic for people that perhaps do not want to play sport, but they can go there for physical activities and fitness and wander around and just have a beautiful time. But what I'm very impressed with this is the environmental implications. And I think too often we forget about our environment. And Laurie Emmons Reserve already has existing trees and grassy areas that already provide interest and character to the reserve, and that is something we can't forget. We must make sure that we keep that character. The draft master plan proposes a wetland that will be redesigned and reconstructed to contemporary standards. The wetlands will improve the functioning of Doherty's Creek and will provide a habitat for our flora and fauna. It may also, and this is quite important, perform as a stormwater harvesting opportunity for irrigating the grass, the green zone and other grassy and treed areas. So the draft will also and proposes enhancement of existing landscape and quality plantings And we do say here our natives and Indigenous plants, but I really would love to see some of our very beautiful exotics go in there as a nice match as well. But I think good report. I think we'll all be very keen to make sure that this report will go ahead. So well done to all the people that have had some, have done some of the work on this thing. I think it will be great, and I look forward to being able to go down and enjoy it instead of being the pretty dried up place it is at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marcus. Councillors, do I have any other speakers on this item? Thank you, councillors. I now put this motion to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. Item 6.5.3, the notice of intention to lease, and I'm going to do my best to pronounce this correctly. I'm going to need to start practicing this more. So part of the Wangaril Durung Centre, Wyndham Vale to One Tree Community Services, and I hope I got that okay. Oh, excellent. So report is on pages 124 to 127. The recommendation is on page 125. Attachments nil. Councillors, do I have a mover for this item? Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Maynard. Councillor Barlow, would you like to speak to this item?
Very briefly, it's Wangarul Durung. So we're getting close. It takes a bit of practice, I must admit.
I will have to practice
that. And it is being built on Wurrung country, and it's going to be a great facility because, and I've had to make this very clear to a number of people because I do co-chair the Wyndham Reconciliation Advisory Committee, so I do have a fair bit to do, and I know I've been to many different conferences lately about language for the original inhabitants, and that this actually, and I don't want to call it a meeting place, this actually, this facility is going to service a lot of people who have got Aboriginal background, and also the rest of the community as well, because it's a facility that actually will hopefully draw people of Aboriginal background to it, but at the same time, the general community are going to use it as a kindergarten, maternal child health, there's meeting space, community forums, there's going to be, if you're going to have a look, there's going to be a lot of open space, and so I'm really looking forward to it. I'm in support of the intention to lease because we just don't have, in my view, we just don't have a lot of spare money lying around. And if we can find ways, as we said earlier, there was a framework for partnerships, and this is part of it. This is about forming partnerships with other organisations to actually provide services to a much larger group of our community than maybe what we have done many years ago. And I think that I'm really looking forward to being finalised and to the opening of the Warrangul Durung Community Centre.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Councillors, do I have any other speakers on this item? Councillor Khan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is to do with the leasing, and we need to know that in January 2019, the OTC, which is One Tree Community Service, been appointed to lease this facility to run their learning child centre, which is they're going to do 2 classes of 33 children and 1 class of 22 are currently enrolled and meet the demand of the early learning centre in the Wyndham Vale. As we know that now the area is growing, demand is growing, we need these people come forward and meet the demand. Now, the size of the lease, since we're talking about the premises, is about 454 square metre, which allows the open car parking for 20 vehicles available. I'm sure there will be a disabled parking includes in the number which is talks about here, 28 vehicles. So there's enough car parking here so people can come and drop the kids and park, and they'll provide for everyone. I think it's a great facility, as Councillor Barlow has said that. So I would be supporting that, and what a great partnership with the people of Warrangul Durung. I think I pronounced it right properly. And it's great to see that this facility is going to be used for the cater for the wider community with a partnership with the with the inclusive of the partnership. So that will go for 5 years and 6 months. The lease start 1st July 19. So we're going to be prepared 1st July 2019 and lease terminate on 31st of December 2024. So we'll look forward to see that how that will progress and how they help the community. And that will be it's only going for 5 years and 6. So I will be supporting that lease. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Khan. Are there any other speakers on this item, councillors? Councillors, I now put this motion to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. Item 6.5.4, the Smart City Strategy Public Exhibition. The report is on pages 128 to 135. The recommendation is on page 128 and the attachment is printed in a separate document on pages 3 to 62. Councillors, do I have a mover for this motion? Councillor Ahn, do I have a seconder? Councillor Walter Villagonzalo, thank you. Councillor Ahn, as the mover, would you like to speak to this item? Thank you, you've got 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm pleased to support the motion to endorse the release of the draft Smart City Strategy for public exhibition and feedback from the 2nd April to 23rd April. Along with residents and business owners, I encourage all from our community networks across the city to review and comment on the strategy before Council considers a final version in June. Madam Mayor, it gives me great pleasure to be embarking on the journey to transform Wyndham into a smart and connected city. As technology innovation permeates us everyday lives and changing the way we live, it's important that we make the most of these opportunities. Our work in the smart city space is gaining significant traction. In 2017, we won the highest honor in the sector, the National Award for Local Government, and twice secured competitive federal smart cities and suburbs grant funding, one of only 3 councils across Australia. We are proud of our achievements and our progress as a modern smart city. However, there's much more work to do. In line with our 2040 vision, the Smart City Strategy is an enabler to operationalize Council key priorities through promoting innovation, leveraging new technology, and welcoming collaborative partnerships to address our urban challenges. In addition, advances in technology and data analysis provide us with the tools to better understand and manage the functioning of our city, and to forward plan and deliver services more effectively. The strategy is underpinned by the voice of our community. The contributions of more than 800 people have guided our smart cities agenda. And long-term aspirational goals, the strategy will benefit our community by maximizing the skill and the knowledge of our citizens, promote and encourage innovation and creativity, help addressing the future of transport across the city, seeking stronger environmental outcomes through the use of technology, and nurture the support of our unique identity. I especially want to call out these key priority areas. I support all of these and note that these key themes and priorities have been diverted from the voice of our community. I also want to thank everyone involved in this work, especially the Smart City Office, led by Dr. Adam Molan, who is also here tonight, for their commendable background work and that has gone into preparing this draft strategy. There has been many hours spent to ensure that this draft strategy delivers on its commitments and acts as an enabler of other organizational strategic priorities. I also want to thank my fellow councillors, our CEO, Kelly Grisby, and the senior exec team. Thank you for all your support and input when we're drafting the strategy. I'm looking forward to working with staff and our partners on delivering this strategy and value to our community. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ahn. Councillors, do I have any other speakers on this item? Councillor Walter Villagonzalo, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wish to acknowledge that the draft Smart City Strategy has strong alignment to our goals of enabling innovation and entrepreneurship. Council has a very important role leading our smart city journey, and supporting the key needs of a future-focused economy. However, it is our citizens that will make our future city a true center for innovation. I am pleased to see that building digital capacity and empowering citizens to innovate is such a strong theme in the strategy. And the smart city strategy goes hand in hand with the need to grow Wyndham City's startup ecosystem. A smart, modern, digital city is one that encourages and supports its local entrepreneurs to develop their business ideas. The smart city strategy supports and will enable this ecosystem to develop and thrive. I commend Councillor Ann and the Smart City Office on the development of this draft Smart City strategy. As Deputy Chair for the portfolio, I am pleased to support the motion to endorse the release of the draft Smart City strategy for public exhibition and feedback. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have any other speakers on this item, councillors? Councillor Maynard, Councillor Maynard and then Councillor Marcus.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll be short and sweet. I just think that this strategy going out for public exhibition will go to add another feather in the cap of Wyndham City Council and reinforce the reason why we are sector leaders in local government, given the extensive experience and expertise of our staff and as mentioned by Councillor Ahn, of Dr. Mullen and his staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Marcus.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I would really like to congratulate Dr. Adam and Ben, who are sitting here with us today. And I would like to say that going back to 2013, when I was the Mayor, I travelled to Canberra with both Ben and Adam because they had implemented a fantastic policy on how they could work out our footpaths without going out. So the work that you have both done in the last 6 years is absolutely magical and a credit to this council, and you are making a great name for this council. So Ben and Adam, thank you very much for your work. The draft Smart City Policy 2019 to 2024 seeks to expand on our commitments within our Wyndham 2040 Community Plan and is our blueprint for promoting innovation. I love the word innovation and I love the word creativity, and I think this is what we have been looking for in this council for a long time. And I think I'm not so good on the technology, but leveraging new technology and welcoming collaborative partnerships to help build our future of this city, which is fantastic. Page 130, the draft Smart Strategy outlines 6 vision statements. Our city feels a sense of opportunity and optimism over our future and approaches it with boldness. Now, they're very strong words. Our city will make data-driven decisions with confidence and transparency. Our city will digitally inclusive to all of our citizens, which again is very important. Our city will take a multidisciplinary approach to implementing change, thinking outside the box and collaborating with a wide range of stakeholders and partners. I would also like to add into that, this won't be a surprise to many of you, that there is clear synergies between smart cities and the environment and sustainability.
One more minute, Councillor.
Throughout the consultation period, the community have placed a high importance on using smart technology to assist with waste and environment management. And as we all know, this is a big issue for the whole world. So along with placing significant importance on using technology to make our public spaces, so that's our parks and gardens and what we've been talking about before, more friendly, environmentally friendly, and using our natural resources more sustainably. As a result, within the implementation plan, there are 8 initiatives that are directly related to the environment and sustainability, so that's fantastic. I look forward to seeing our dedicated environmental team collaborating with the Smart City Office on existing initiatives such as Phase 3 of the Lighting the West program and our award-winning Wyndham Solar City project. I'm also excited to see so many projects targeted with better environmental outcomes, and I applaud our vision of not just being a smart city, but a sustainable city. So I too support the motion to endorse the release of this draft Smart City Strategy for public exhibition and feedback. But I do believe, after speaking with Dr. Adam today, that many, many people have already contributed to this Smart City Strategy. So well done, Adam, again, and Ben, and to Peter McKinnon and to all council staff. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillors, are there any further speakers on this item? Councillor Khan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, it's always been a learning what happened in 21st century since we call the smart city, how people take the word smart city. Is that smart city provide livable housing? Does the smart city provide the transport from easy to the work or attract the people for tourism? Now, I'm really glad to see that we have a strategy. Council's working really hard to make sure that Wyndham will become a smart city. But we also know that on the Star Weeklies, 27th of the March, Wyndham crime is up. So we know that how we are working hard to make sure the city becomes a smart city. And I'm really glad that the way we're developing a smart city strategy on the principle says that integrity and safety. So can I say in a smart city, we'll be looking at online safety risk. A lot of people use online. And also though, there's an issue with this smart city strategy because of now that is innovation. The 24-month, it says on the key issues, 24-month and 30, can anything happen? Now, when we talk about smart city, we know that Wyndham City is still struggling in some of the areas where we do not have yet NBN. We're still struggling for the NBN. But can I say, councils does a great job, and officers who bring this strategy to letting the state MPs and federal MPs know that council is really working hard. Want to make this city a smart city, so make sure you support us, provide us the tools we need to build this a smart city. So they need to come along with us. We can't do it ourselves. If there's a no NBN, if there's a no 5Gs working here, it's going to have issue. But can I also say that now?
1 more minute, Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It talks about integrity and safety, enhance transparency, accountability, integrated public planning and decision-making, minimizing data security, information safety. I think Wyndham City can be one of the best smart city in Melbourne if we can provide a better infrastructure which support the smart city. I look forward to see that, as Councillor Henry Bala said previously, the plan comes and goes, but we want to make sure this one should work, and we make sure one day the East, where be all these smart ideas can get up and support this smart city. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Khan. Councillors, thank you. Councillor Gilligan, yes.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I just want to use a quick example, which I thought was fascinating. You just don't know who's watching or who's using the sort of data that we're generating. And a great example was a school in South Australia that I found on Twitter. And I tweeted the CEO about it. And essentially they were using the open source data of our smart bins to teach those kids about data and technology for the future. And I thought that is incredible, that information and projects that we've got on the ground are actually educating the next generation in a whole new state. And I just so happened to come across it. It must have been a hashtag that I saw. But anyway, it's very clear. It's very clear to see that that investment is well-founded, and congratulations to both you and to the team for delivering that. And I hope to see those quirky examples pop up more and more into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gilligan. Councillors, any further speakers on this item? Councillors, I now put this motion to a vote. All those in favour? Against? The motion is carried. So item 6.5.5, Assembly of Councillors. The report is on page 136. The recommendation is on page 136. The attachments are on pages 137 to 141. Councillors, do I have a mover for this item? Councillor John Gibbons, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Villagonzalo. Councillor Gibbons, would you like to speak to this motion? Councillors, do I have any other speakers on this item? Thank you, councillors. I now put this motion to a vote. All those in favour? Against? The motion is carried. Item 7, notices of motion, there are nil this evening. Item 8, council seal. Item 8.1, awarding of contract C2035/18, reconstruction of Hilden Close, Maluka Drive and Barclay Court, Hoppers Crossing. The report is on pages 142 to 146. The recommendation is on page 142. Attachments are nil. Councillors, do I have a mover for this item? Thank you, Councillor Khan. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Kim McElhinney. Are there any speakers on this item? Oh, sorry, Councillor Khan, did you want to speak to this item? Thank you, Councillor Khan. Are there any other speakers? Thank you, councillors. I now put this motion to a vote. All those in favour? Against? The motion is carried. Item 9, contract summary. There are nil. Item 10, questions with notice from the public gallery. Madam CEO, do we have any questions from the gallery this evening?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We do have a number of questions this evening. I'd like to start with questions from Raj Menon. Is Raj Menon in the gallery this evening? No, okay. We'll correspond with Raj then separately. I'll move on to questions now received from Les Sanderson. So welcome, Les. I've seen you here this evening. The first question is regarding Wyndham City Council working with the City of Greater Geelong on a traffic strategy plan to direct heavy trucks carrying loads of gravel from quarries in the Yuyangs to roads which can handle the weight of trucks and which will prevent the trucks travelling through the township of Little River. So the question relates to that. So the first question is, how far has this strategy progressed and how will it be policed? The second part of the question is, as noted in a local newsprint recently, when will signs be erected advising or preventing heavy trucks using roads in Little River? And to respond to that first question, I will ask Madam Mayor through you to Director Peter McKinnon to respond.
Thank you, Madam CEO, and thank you for your question, Les. Following discussions with residents, the City of Greater Geelong, Vic Roads and Vic Police, council officers have been conducting a number of traffic analysis and data throughout the Little River and Lara regions. And really, we're trying to determine what those truck routes are, the origin and destination points of the trucks, traffic volumes and speed limits by time of day. Now, this analysis and data has been provided to both Vic Roads and Victoria Police to assist with their own investigations and operations. Officers have also identified roads in and near the Little River area that may potentially be considered for load limit implementation, but we need to do consultation with the public first, and this will need to take place before any load limit can be implemented. So therefore, officers will be organising some community consultation sessions with residents of the Little River and Lara regions in the not too distant future to discuss these load limits. So thank you, Les.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. And the final question from Les actually is more of a sort of thank you statement, which I won't read out in detail other than suffice to say that Les has passed on from the community at Little River his appreciation and their thanks to Council for support and caring events held over the past month that relate to the provision of a movie night, particularly where 70 children and adults attended. So again, just a note of thanks there to Council. So we will provide that, Madam Mayor, through to those staff involved. So thank you for that feedback. Moving on now, Madam Mayor, we have two questions from Lisa Heinrichs. Welcome, Lisa. Lisa's in the gallery this evening. So the first question relates to council delegates' reports, and we've just heard that matter this evening tonight, Madam Mayor. So the question reads, as noted in delegates' reports and Assembly of Councillors, we can again note Councillor Intaj Khan absent, which means no apology given from his portfolio meeting. How many of these meetings has Councillor Khan actually attended? And do Council believe that it's acceptable for community representatives to voluntarily attend these meetings, yet the portfolio holder doesn't? So again, in response to that, similar to previous questions of this nature, as highlighted in your question, it is a matter of the public record. So by going through the Council minutes, you can ascertain the number of apologies or lack thereof received regarding attendance at all relevant portfolio and other meetings that are sort of subject to the public record. Attendance at these meetings, including portfolio and other meetings, is for individual councillors to determine. And as most in the council and certainly in the gallery will appreciate, often councillors really aren't required by the Local Government Act to attend all of those things. It's really a minimum number of council meetings or ordinary council meetings. So again, it is a matter for the public record. Question 2, ask council to explain how we've ended up with 2 estates in Werribee with the same name. So firstly, the small estate at the end of Shores Road on the river is called Riverwalk, yet the estate on Geelong Road is also Riverwalk. The one on Shores Road predates the latter by considerable years. So thank you for that question. I just do have some notes that I need to refer to because it actually relates, Madam Mayor, through to the state government rules for naming. So the geographic naming rules provides that councils are the naming authority for roads, features and suburb names. Under the naming rules, councils do not have a role in naming estates as these names are used for commercial purposes such as marketing. The names for these areas such as Riverwalk are decided by developers. It should be noted that the official name of an area is the suburb name and not the estate name. And to locate properties, emergency services, etc., and Australia Post, for instance, use the suburb and not estate names. Council therefore has no ability to influence the name of estates. So this may be something to take up with the developers. And Madam Mayor, we will have seen that in a number of instances across the city from time to time where developers do use their discretion to name such estates. That's it for public questions, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam CEO. We'll now move on to councillor delegates' report. So item 11.1, councillor delegates' reports, pages 147 to 148. The recommendation is on page 148 and the attachment is on page 149 to 163. Councillors, do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Khan, do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Are there any councillors that would like to speak to their report? Councillor Barlow.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I usually don't speak to these reports, but I just wanted to touch base on the Cultural Diversity Portfolio Committee, which I'm very happy to chair, because on page 157, it does highlight in the meeting notes, and these are just very brief explanations of some of the things that we talk about in these meetings. We introduced the community members of the portfolio as to we had a briefing on the Wyndham Gambling Harm Minimisation Policy and Action Plan for 2018-22 and how it relates to the cold communities that we do have in our community. And also, the bottom bullet point says a discussion on the proposed council awareness workshop on mental health in cold communities as well. So there was a fair amount of discussion held around this, and I thought it was really good that we were able to actually firstly talk about the gambling harm minimisation policy, because we do know that not only do long time and generational Australians gamble, but so do quite a number of our new migrants moving to Australia as well, who some people, and I worked in Southeast Asia and in South Asia, and I've been to some casinos, and let me tell you, I walked into a casino once, there was 2 Indian guys, people of Indian background, and 1 white Australian, and that was me, and the rest of them were all from the particular Southeast Asian country that I was working in at the time. So gambling is obviously an issue, and we had a lot of discussion about that, and I thought it was very good. The other thing I just wanted to mention, which isn't on here, but the committee people on the Cultural Diversity Portfolio decided late last year that they wanted to organise a meeting, an unofficial meeting, for everybody on the portfolio to meet their family, their wives, their husbands, their kids, and we decided to have a lunch. And so back in February, and I know it was late February, but back in February, the portfolio committee actually had lunch at someone's home, and we all took something along to eat, as we do in sharing, just like we do in the welcoming city type dinners and that. And it was a great Sunday afternoon. So much so that a number of the people within the portfolio committee, and I will report back on this at a later time when it goes further, have now had a small meeting amongst themselves to look at how they can do something similar to that, but actually invite friends and people from other different cultures to actually come together and all that. So they're actually taking that upon themselves and not part of their role when it comes to coming onto the committee, come to the committee meetings every couple of months. And so I want to publicly thank the portfolio committee people, because none of this, what's happened, the lunch and everything else, has not been driven by just me or the council officers who do a powerful amount of work, but this has been driven by them actually getting to know each other from all these different backgrounds, whether they be African or Indian. I've got Chinese background people, you know, got somebody of Italian background who's been in Australia for 60 odd years, and they've decided that they want to do this, and I think that's great. And so I just wanted to mention that, because sometimes the delegates' reports are a little thin on detail, and I thought my people on the committee deserve some recognition for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Councillors, is anyone else want to speak to their delegates' report? Thank you, Councillor Khan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, in our delegates' report now, it hasn't been tabled here because we're doing now that what plan was decided, and the meetings has been conducted as a schedule. I'm pretty happy about that. Our directors and the committee members are working what we're trying to do, livable housing and some working other areas. But also, though, Madam, as part of that now, I have been attended personal other meetings, which is so not my portfolio, but did attend it. And great was when we have actually assembled for the victims of the New Zealand and invited Councillor Kim McLeany and Tony Hoop. But that was the councils was made by people, and people seems to be inclusive, and they come when the things happen. And in fact, us with our cousins Kiwis and Australians, when we share the same values and same faith, and we love to live in a city. And that's the reason urban future, you know, we're creating a city which will become livable and affordable for everyone. Now, this is a great area. Now, also though, Madam, there has been a number of functions where, you know, myself and my community members have attended, and I think so we're making a livable city for everybody. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Khan. Councillors, are there any other councillors that want to speak to their delegates' report?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just clarify, Madam Mayor? I think Councillor Khan said that there wasn't a delegates' report, but Urban Futures does have a delegates' report in the paperwork. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow.
I just want to clarify that. Okay.
Thank you. So, councillors, I now put this motion to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. Item 12, urgent business. So, Madam CEO, I understand there is an urgent business item.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, and apologies, councillors, for having to circulate this as a late item. As those of you who have been serving on council now for this term will know that it's very rare that we do actually have an item for urgent business. Madam Mayor, unfortunately, this wasn't able to be considered at a future council meeting. The reason that it needed to come up tonight was because we need to be in a position to award a contract in order to deliver timely works at the refuse disposal facility. So we weren't able to wait for May, and therefore my view, Madam Mayor, is that it would be terrific if Council could consider this tonight as an urgent item. The report title has been circulated to councillors there. It's C1929/18, and it's panel project number 1. and it refers to the supply and delivery of clay to the Wyndham Refuse Disposal Facility. And as I mentioned, Madam Mayor, the reason that's an urgent item is because of the nature of the matter, and it can't wait till May due to works needing to commence as soon as possible.
Thank you, Madam CEO. So this report, the report for this item has been circulated to councillors. The motion is that council consider the urgent business item titled C1929/18, panel project number 1, supply and delivery of clay to the Wyndham Refuse Disposal Facility. I got that right, so the RDF. So, councillors, do I have a mover to consider this item as urgent business? Thank you, Councillor Maynard. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Gibbons. Are there any councillors that would like to speak to this motion? Councillors, I now put this motion to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. So, motion to hear urgent business item. Councillors, I now move to consider this item of urgent business. Councillors, do I have a mover for this report? Thank you, Councillor Maynard. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Gibbons. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Maynard, as the mover of the motion, would you like to speak to it?
Thank you. No, Madam Mayor, it's self-explanatory. I commend the report.
Thank you, Councillor Maynard. Councillors, are there any further speakers on this item? Thank you, councillors. Councillors, I now put this motion to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. Councillors, please note that the report for this item will be included in the minutes of the meeting. Item 13, confidential business. Councillors, can I have a mover to suspend standing orders for confidential business? Councillor Maynard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, I move the motion that pursuant to section 89(2) of the Local Government Act 1989, standing orders be suspended and this meeting of council be closed to members of the public in order for council to discuss confidential business.
Thank you, Councillor Maynard. Do I have a seconder for this motion? Thank you, Councillor Khan. Councillors, I now put this. Those in favour? Against? The motion is carried. Thank you. I need to call for a motion that the do I read? Okay, I remember. Oh, okay. Councillor Maynard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, I move the motion that the recommendations of the closed meeting of council with regard to confidential be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Maynard. Do I have a seconder for this motion? Thank you, Councillor Gibbons. I now put this motion to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried. I now declare this meeting closed at 8:33 p.m. Excellent meeting, councillors, and let's hope we get some good news out of the federal budget tonight for Wyndham. Thank you.